and union activist in Kern County, and is serving his second 3-year term on the California Teachers Association Board. But I hear that he's going to be serving a 3rd term soon. Welcome, Jesse.
Thank you. My name is Jesse Aguilar, and I've been a teacher in the Kern High School District for the last 26 years. For the last 5.5 years, I've been serving on the board of directors for the California Teachers Association, representing about 20,000 educators and about 115 locals. I'm joining Courage for America at this event to ask Speaker McCarthy to make a simple promise: protect our hard-earned benefits and stop playing politics with our lives. House Republicans are risking a major global economic crisis and putting American livelihoods at risk by forcing a national default unless their extreme demands are met. They're holding the U.S. economy hostage, and their demands have nothing to do with helping regular people who work hard to make ends meet. Speaker McCarthy has catered to the most extreme elements of his party and has forgotten about the issues that affect the rest of us every single day. He and his extreme colleagues are focused on condemning drag shows, banning books, whitewashing history, and other overtly political culture war issues. And what they should be focused on is funding the SNAP benefits and school lunch programs that make sure students who aren't hungry in class, making sure our educators who devote their lives to their students and local communities are able to retire with dignity, and keeping gun violence out of our schools and keeping our children safe. On Monday, we had yet another school shooting, and it would be irresponsible of me to come up here to speak and not acknowledge the tragedy and recognize the victims of the school shooting at Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee. The school where Cynthia Peak, Catherine Kuntz, Mike Hill, and 3 9-year-old children were senselessly shot down by yet another heavily armed assailant with an AR-15. When asked if Congress should act on gun violence after the shooting, Kevin McCarthy's response was a deafening silence. He ran away from reporters and kept his mouth shut. Teaching shouldn't require running through active shooter scenarios. Teaching shouldn't require that I know how to use a fire extinguisher as a defensive weapon. Teaching shouldn't require that I know how to use my belt to barricade my door. Teaching shouldn't require that I be willing to take a bullet for my students. But teachers do take bullets for their students. Teachers have taken bullets for their students. Victoria Soto was shot protecting students in Newtown, Connecticut. Scott Beagle was shot protecting students in Parkland, Florida. Irma Garcia was shot protecting students in Uvalde, Texas. Time after time, teachers have taken bullets for their students. This is the America we live in, and it's obscene. We're living in America where guns are valued more highly than our children, where guns have more rights than our teachers, where guns are more protected than our neighborhood public schools. We're living in America where the slaughter of children is an acceptable sacrifice for the cultish worship of the Second Amendment, and where thoughts and prayers are generously sprinkled over the teddy bears and flowers of the makeshift memorials that spring up at our public schools after every new shooting. We're living in an America where politicians bankrolled by the gun lobby avoid the G word and gaslight us about mental illness, single entry points, and the need to arm our teachers. We're living in an America where the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives has no comment in the aftermath of a school shooting. Being a teacher shouldn't mean worrying about being shot. Being a student shouldn't include the worry of being gunned down while crouching under a desk. Parents shouldn't have to endure the sick feeling in their gut as they drop off their kids at school. What we should expect is support from our congressman for common sense gun regulation, especially if that congressman is Speaker of the House and 3rd in line to the presidency. Passing legislation that requires universal background checks for people wanting to purchase a firearm shouldn't be impossible. Mental health restrictions shouldn't be impossible. How about red flag laws? How about banning assault-style weapons in high-capacity magazines? None of that should be impossible. How about instead of more guns, we get more counselors in our schools? How about more nurses? Instead of more guns, how about more books? I need my congressman to have my back. I need him to be outraged. I need him to support common sense gun legislation that 80% of Americans want. I need him to stop placating to the most extreme members of his party and start working for the people of the 20th Congressional District. I need him to start valuing the communities of this district as much as he values the folks that dole out $500 for a chicken dinner. I need him to pay attention to the needs of our students, their parents, their teachers, the education support professionals that get up every day, work hard every day, and give more money than they can afford every single day. I need him to stop supporting people who continue to fan the flames of hate, the ones that put targets on the backs of educators, the ones that put targets on the backs of our LGBTQ plus and trans communities, the ones that insist that Black lives don't matter, the ones that are banning books and rewriting histories and mounting insurrections. Speaker McCarthy has failed to support much of what we need, and we need that to change. What has Kevin McCarthy been able to support? He supports George Santos, who repeatedly lied to get elected to Congress. He supports Lauren Boebert, who supports a bid to make the AR-15 the national gun. He supports Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has recently been suspended from Twitter, this time for promoting the bigotry of our trans community through a conspiracy theory about a trans day of vengeance. Kevin McCarthy supports House Resolution 5. H.R. 5 is euphemistically titled the Parents' Bill of Rights. The bill is not actually about parental rights, it's about controlling teachers. As the National Education has stated, McCarthy would rather seek to stroke racial and social divisions and distract from what would really help students thrive, an inspiring, inclusive, and age-appropriate curriculum that prepares each and everyone for their future. McCarthy has embraced instead an agenda that bans books, buries the racist events of our national history, demonizes our LGBTQ plus and trans siblings, and attempts to disempower women. Kevin McCarthy also supports holding the debt ceiling limit hostage in order to force sharp spending cuts to safety net programs that people desperately rely on nationally, including the 20th Congressional District. Let me be clear, the debt ceiling has nothing to do with future spending. It's about spending that has already taken place. It's about paying debts that have already been incurred. It's a strategy that is cynical and rash and dripping with risk. A strategy that he has us on the brink of a national default that would hurt us all. Social Security and Medicare are on the chopping block, and that is unconscionable. Programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, and the School Lunch Program are also on the chopping block, and that is just mean, vindictive, and shows a complete lack of compassion for people who are living day to day and for people who are barely making it at all. As a teacher, I can tell you that a hungry child does not learn. I can tell you that food is love, sharing food is the act of giving love, and the denial of food is the opposite. As human beings, we should know that building budgets off the backs of our less fortunate is deplorable. As sons and daughters, we should understand that the promise of Social Security and Medicare gives our parents dignity and hope. We cannot allow programs that help so many to be stripped away and dismantled so cavalierly. We must stand up and push back if we want a different America. It's up to us to demand one. So let's stand up against lies and obfuscation. Let's stand up to the gaslighting and misdirection. Let's stand up and speak for the voiceless, for those who have been beaten down by life and those who have been beaten down because they fit the description. Let's let Kevin McCarthy know that his first 100 days as Speaker of the House has been marred by too much attention to the extremists and not enough attention to the people he represents. Let's stand up for what's right, what's just, and what's decent. Tell Kevin to keep his hands off our Social Security, to keep his hands off our Medicare, to keep his hands off SNAP and off school lunches. Tell him to keep his hands off our public schools. Tell him to value teachers, to value children, to value seniors, to value women, and to support the most vulnerable of us living at the periphery of our society. Let Kevin McCarthy know that we care and we expect him to care as well. Tell him to do the right thing and be the leader that folks in the 20th Congressional District deserve. Thank you.